It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of October 6, 2000, and we have a ton of films to get to, so I'm not even going to waste any more time. We got to get going here. Let's get to it. Let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Robert De Niro and Ben Stiller in the comedy Meet the Parents. So, one of the first real influential movies of the 21st century, I should say, because, this movie not only spawned a successful comedy film series, but it also spawned a couple of TV series. A couple of years after this movie came out, there was a reality show called Meet My Folks. It was basically related to this movie solely because of the lie detector, like the lie detector in the movie. There was a part of the show where this couple, where the person who's coming in would have to take a lie detector test similar to the lie detector test in this movie. But then around the same time, there was also another show around this time called In-Laws, which starred Gene Smart and Dennis Farina, which was, I gotta be honest, not a bad show, but it only lasted about a couple of months on the air, it's a shame because, that was kind of around the time when NBC was still kind of the #1 network, even though, Friends and Frasier were just a couple of years away from being off the network completely, and that completely changed the game for who was running the broadcast networks at the time. But we're not talking about those. We're talking about this movie here, which is basically, you kind of see what the premise is from the get-go. You have Ben Stiller as this male nurse who wants to visit his girlfriend's parents. Girlfriend played by Terry Polo. Robert De Niro and Blythe Danner are the parents, and he realizes that there's more to Robert De Niro's character than he lets on, and of course the hilarity ensues. This was actually a remake of a '92 film of the same name by the writer of this, Greg Galena, who I think went on to write the scripts for the other movies in the series, and Universal basically bought this, wanting to create their own version of it, and they actually went to Steven Spielberg was actually interested in doing this with Jim Carrey attached to play the leading role in it, and that could have been a very interesting film, seeing Spielberg and Carrey work together, but they left the project, and so they went to Jay Roach, of course, of Austin Powers fame, and Ben Stiller, who was a rising actor at the time. I mean, it works for what it is. The movie is very funny. This is a film that is very well done. It has a lot of love to it. It was a big hit when it came out. It was one of the biggest hits of the year. And like I said, it went on to become one of the most influential movies, the first big influential movie of the 21st century. And it works because you like Robert De Niro and Ben Stiller going at each other. And Ben Stiller's trying to convince Robert De Niro that eventually he wants to ask for his daughter's hand in marriage. And you do buy into the couple. Stiller and Polo, I think, work off each other very well. Blythe Danner has some really good moments in here. You also have Owen Wilson. A cast that includes some other great notable names in here, like John Abrams from Scary Movie, Owen Wilson, James Rebhorn, a great character actor. There's a lot of great things about the movie. I could see people getting a little too annoyed by it pretty quickly, because it is one of those situations where all Ben Stiller really needs to do is to stop doing a specific thing, and it would easily end the movie quicker, but then we wouldn't have a movie in general, because all the comic antics that happen in here mostly come from Ben Stiller's character, and later on Robert De Niro's character doing what they have to do here. But regardless of that, this is still a really funny movie. The airplane scenes alone in this movie are ones that I always go back to. It's the one towards the end of the movie. It's just those are that's my favorite scenes. Those are my favorite scenes in the movie, when he's in the interrogation room and he keeps talking about what's wrong with saying bomb on an airplane. The guy says you can't say bomb on an airplane. He's just bomb, 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 bomb. You're gonna arrest me? And those are funny moments to me, and there are a lot of funny moments in here. There are moments in here that are kind of a little bit much, but overall, the movie is a ton of fun. It's a well-made film. It's really funny. Really clever stuff, really well done stuff, and it works because you have a solid cast here working out for this. And, for Robert De Niro, this was kind of a little return to form, because Rocky and Bullwinkle had come out the previous summer and did not do the numbers they thought it would. So this was a nice return to him. But I still like Rocky and Bullwinkle regardless. But this is a really good movie. I really don't think I need to say too much more about this one. I thought Meet the Fockers was okay, but just your typical comedy sequel, and then the less I have to say about Little Fockers, the better. But we still got 10 years before we have to get to that one. But yeah, not much more to say about this one, Meet the Parents. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Sylvester Stallone in the remake of Get Carter. You ever see episodes of Family Guy where they show a Sylvester Stallone caricature he basically looks like that. He also kind of looks like what Tony Stark looked like in Iron Man. He looks like Robert Downey Jr. in that film. But this is a remake of the 1971 British film of the same name, which actually stars Michael Caine and actually has him in this movie. The basic plot of this movie is simply this. Stallone is basically playing a Las Vegas mob enforcer who travels back to his hometown to investigate his brother's mysterious death. And I've never seen the original Get Carter. And to be quite honest, I don't think the people who made this movie saw the original Get Carter either, because it was heavily panned by critics. I mean, it was a franchise pictures movie. What more can you expect from that? But yeah, the movie just didn't look like it was really. The movie just didn't have anything to it, I should say. I mean, it just feels like. It feels like the most generic action thriller. There's nothing about this movie that really makes it unique or anything interesting. Like, I guess for Sylvester Stallone, it's nice to see him step out of just the typical action movies that he was making around the time, but he did a movie called Copland a couple years ago that was really great. It unfortunately didn't do well, and unfortunately I kind of stopped him from having that career renaissance that we thought he was going to have after that movie came out. And he's making and he's making shit like this. I mean, this is just a film that is just not engaging whatsoever. Even if you've never seen the original Get Carter, you can just tell this was not a film that really amounted to anything about it. I mean, I'm pretty sure they just saw the title, saw it had a name, put it up there, and it was basically just like it just didn't feel like there was nothing there. It was such a generic plot, such a mediocre storyline. There's nothing to this movie that makes it stand out in any way, shape, or form. It's a dull, boring movie. It's a movie that really just failed on so many levels. And even if you, like I said, even if you never saw the original Get Carter, you could pretty much tell this movie clearly has not that much to do with the original Get Carter at all, or even the books that these are based off of. But yeah, really a letdown. I mean, this thing could have probably been something more unique if Stallone had actually put more effort into it. And not even him, but not just him, but a better writer and director, like a guy like I'm seeing here. Tarsem Singh was supposed to be director on this back when they first announced it, and as much as I criticize him for what he did with The Cell and some of his other movies, I probably would have been interested to see what he would have brought to this. Maybe he could have made it better, but it was just not meant to be. So yeah, that's Get Carter. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Pokemon was still a thing at the time, even though the popularity was waning. So Fox basically took its Pokemon and put it on the big screen, and that is Digimon the movie. I'm not gonna lie, this was one of those movies that when they first announced this movie, I basically wanted to go see it. However, the movie theater that I usually went to around that time did not have the movie, and we couldn't find the movie anywhere, so unfortunately, I couldn't see it on the big screen, so I had to wait for VHS for it. But this movie would have been right up my alley because I was liking Digimon more than Pokemon up to that point, but, honestly, at this point, it was kind of not going to last because by the time the next season had started the year later in 2001, I was kind of pretty much over and done with it, that quickly. But what we have here is basically an edited version of 3 different Japanese short films combined together. You have a narration with one of the characters, Kari. The first segment features them back when her and her brother Tai were little kids, and they come across a Digimon, and an Agumon, but not the same Agumon that Tai would become friends with. It eventually leads to a fight that occurs downtown between the Digimon and another person, and they raise a fast-growing Digimon from an egg to a large dinosaur, which I just mentioned was Agumon, and escapes from their house, encounters with a battle with a parrot-like Digimon. Kind of comes and goes, and kind of actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you consider that in the original first episode of the show, nobody really has any idea what the heck's going on, so this basically is just retconning the fact that this whole thing doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but the second segment is basically Tai and Izzy. Izzy finds a computer virus sweeping across the internet, and it's creating a virus all over the internet. This infected Digimon begins to start eating computer information and data, and with the help of the rest of their Digimon friends, including some of their friends from the other part, including Matt and TK, they basically have to stop them from stopping 2 nukes from being launched, one in Colorado and one in Japan, which leads into the third and final segment, which involves the then current iteration of Digimon, which is funny because this trailer, I'm guessing it came out around the time of Pokemon the first movie, because nobody really knew what the second season was going to be at that point. Nobody had been introduced to the characters they were introducing at that time, but in this third installment, you have the third segment. You have Kari and TK following this kid who turns out to be the creator of the virus, and they basically meet up with their friends from the show. They manage to defeat the evil Digimon, who turns out to be Willis' twin Digimon that was affected by the virus following the actions of the second segment. And they basically have to save the world, pretty much. And you can, like I said, it's pretty much cashing in on what Warner Brothers was doing with Pokemon, the first movie a year ago. So why not Fox get in on the action with their Pokemon Digimon? The one problem that Digimon the movie has compared to the Pokemon films is that Warner Brothers didn't at least truncate 3 different movies into one like Fox did. They trimmed out 40 minutes of 3 different Digimon movies to try to make one single story come together, as one takes place long before the Digidestined even meet, another takes place shortly after the events of Season 1, and the last takes place in the middle of the then-current second season, which was only about a couple weeks old. By doing that, you're creating a lot of plot holes and things that don't really make a whole lot of sense with the new narratives they throw in here. For example, like I said, Kari and Tai raise a Koromon, but it's not the same Koromon that Tai would meet in the Digiworld, which means that those bizarre events in the first episode of the show wouldn't really be that big of a surprise to them, and thus you kind of create a paradox in the plot of the original series. Like, if there really is one segment that really makes this a standout, something that you have to see, it's the second one. The second one, I feel like, has the most merit. It has the bigger, grander scale to it. When you have Tai and Izzy getting everybody back together to face a computer virus affecting the internet, it leads to great animation, a lot of good action sequences, and a really damn good climax with some incredible music to it. I mean, it was it's such a big part of this movie's legacy that it was actually the fact that this director actually used this for the creation of Summer Wars, which has a very similar plot to it. And it still holds up to this very day, and I just wish the rest of the movie held up as well as that second part, because the first and third parts have some good ideas to it, but the execution and overall trying to work alongside the newly written dialogue just doesn't come together at all. It's a prime example of what happens as an American studio tries to interfere with an anime by trying to one-up the competition and basically just make something that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, honestly, the best thing about this movie is the second part. It's the one thing I go back to when I think about this movie. Yeah, I gotta sit through a really lackluster first part, and a climax that's in the third act that's really not that great in general, but you could tell there was a lot of potential there, but the studio interference kind of really dinged it in the long run. And, like I said, like, about a year after this movie came out, Digimon was kind of not my thing anymore, which was kind of unfortunate because it just kind of got boring. It's like the same thing every single time. Let's introduce these new Digimon. Let's introduce these new Digidestined. In fact, one of the new creatures in this movie would later go on to become a character in the third season. And it was pretty much just the same thing over and over and over again. It just got really old really fast. Like the thing with Pokemon, at least, you still have at least some enjoyment coming into Pokemon, even if they've been doing the same thing over and over, but there's still something there. You still get invested in the storyline between Ash and these characters, but not with this. I mean, this thing got pretty old pretty quickly, and it's a shame because, I mean, there is potential here. The best thing is that second part, but it's not worth it to see it just for the first and third parts. If you don't, I'm pretty sure you can just find the second part somewhere online, and there's no real reason to go rush out to see this in a movie theater. So, probably at the time, I could have maybe, if I had seen this in theaters, and probably wouldn't have minded so much, but luckily when I got to see it on home video afterwards, I did remember that second part being the best thing about it. But other than that, though, everything else about it was pretty bland and not memorable whatsoever. It's a real letdown, honestly. So yeah, that's Digimon the movie. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is one of the more interesting movies to come across here. Now, you may have never heard the title of this movie, but once you see the trailer for it, you might get intrigued, just like I was. This is Cyberworld. So yeah, you have a movie that has characters from the movie Ants and the scene from The Simpsons, the Homer 3 episode from the Treehouse of Horror episode. But like, you probably never even heard of this movie. But I remember the poster for this a long time ago, and I see Homer and also who's the girl from Ants? Sharon Stone's character, Princess Bala. Like, you see him on the poster, it's just like, where did this come from? Like, how come I never heard of this movie? Well, there's probably a good reason for that, but let's kind of run down the plot of this. You have this character named Fig, played by Jenna Elfman, who shows the audience Cyberworld, which is a futuristic museum of infinite possibilities. And meanwhile, you have these 3 computer bugs, played by Matt Frewer and Robert Smith, not the is I don't think it's not the Robert Smith for The Cure. I thought that for a second, but they come and try to eat the cyberworld through its number coding. While Fig knows about them and hunts for the destructive computer bugs, she basically presents various short stock clips of computer animated productions, such as scenes from Ants and episodes of The Simpsons post converted to 3D. So you see the trailer, like you think that Homer and the Ants are going to be part of this big storyline. They're really not. I mean, it basically just is telling you this whole movie is kind of completely pointless. But then again, maybe it isn't. I can't really say for certain because I've never seen the movie before, and it's hard to find a copy of this movie anywhere. It's never been released on home video, and pretty much for the reasons that you might think, because of copyright issues with Universal Pictures, DreamWorks, and Walt Disney, and 20th Century Fox because of Ants and The Simpsons. You also get other things like there's a Pet Shop Boys music video that's used in here, but yeah, I don't know. Even if it was something that was actually out there and could be seen, I don't know if I'd be really interested in seeing it, because just knowing that it's just stock clips in general and the trailer pretty much lies to you makes this kind of pointless. I mean, granted, it would be cool to see this in IMAX on a big screen. I think that would be kind of cool to see that Simpsons episode on a big theatrical screen like that. But other than that, though, there's really no reason to make this movie except to just have it be on that big giant IMAX screen, which probably would make it worth it in the long run, but would be something I want to watch again later on if I can't watch it on a big screen like that. But, excuse me. but yeah, the little stuff I've seen from it, it does not look too promising whatsoever. I mean, like I said, the fact that they literally say it's just stock clips and that trailer is basically lying to you, that really kind of hurts the excitement I would have had for it. I mean, I really would have kind of enjoyed it if maybe they kind of incorporated the stock clips into an actual storyline, but it just doesn't sound like that's the case here. And it is one of those it feels like a missed opportunity, honestly, the more I look at it. Like, what this could have really been if they actually had done that, like take these clips from various movies, put them together in a storyline, and you probably would have had something here. But I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen it before, but it's one of those ones that I feel like probably isn't as good as they make it out to be, and it could be a whole lot better, all things considered. But then again, that's just what it is, unfortunately. But I'm sure there's somewhere out there where I could probably watch it, but I just can't find it right now. So maybe one day. But that's just my quick thoughts on Cyberworld. So let's move on to our next movie, and that is Spike Lee's latest film, Bamboozled. So this is a dark, biting satire of the television industry, focusing on an Ivy League-educated black writer at a major network. Frustrated that his ideas for a Cosby Show-esque take on the black family has been rejected by the network brass, he devises an outlandish scheme, reviving the minstrel show. This is the hook. Instead of white actors in blackface, the show stars black actors in even blacker face. The show becomes an instant smash, but with the success also comes repercussions for those involved. And that plot alone pretty much tells you that this is a film that's going to be very, very hard to really come by. Because, like, honestly, I could not even imagine a movie like this getting made in this world today. Like, this is something that probably, if they had made this in 2023, this thing probably would have not gone well with him. But, in a way, I get what Spike Lee was trying to do with this movie. He wanted to try to return to shock-style filmmaking that made him a household name in the early part of his career by tackling such a risky topic, by doing a blackface in modern times, but it's just mostly kind of meh. It's clear that Lee is trying his best to tell something interesting here, but the script never really goes that route that you would think it would. It never really comes together well enough to make a provocative classic on the level of something like A Do the Right Thing, which is one of my favorite films of all time. Cast is somewhat pretty good here. I mean, they do give some good performances here and there. Damon Wayans, Jada Pinkett Smith, Savion Glover, Tommy Davidson, Mos Def, Michael Rappaport. It's clear that they're trying to flow with Lee's vision for the project, but as far as the film itself goes, it's a movie that has an interesting premise to work with that could have worked, but it never really lives up to the full potential. It comes across as a noble project, but more of a botched delivery. It's kind of like Summer Sam. The cause is very noble, but the final product simply is not. And like I said, it'd be incredibly hard to try to do this again in 2023 and make it a success. I mean, this thing could easily be taken the wrong way this time in this generation. But yeah, kind of a letdown film overall. It's one that I saw one time, and I really have no desire to go back and watch again, unfortunately. So yeah, that's Bamboozled. So let's go ahead and move on to our next film, which is Darren Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream. Speaking of movies you probably couldn't get away with today, for completely different reasons, Requiem for a Dream. This is Darren Aronofsky's follow-up to his movie Pi, and you basically have a story dealing with four characters affected by drug addiction and how it alters their physical and emotional states. Their addictions cause them to become imprisoned in a world of delusion and desperation. As the film progresses, each character deteriorates and their delusions are shattered by the harsh reality of their situations, resulting in catastrophe. You have people like Jared Leto from American Psycho, Ellen Burstyn, who actually got an Academy Award nomination for this, Jennifer Connelly, and Marlon Wayans among the cast in here. Christopher McDonald is also in here as well. And it's a very disturbing movie, but in a way that works to Darren Aronofsky's advantage. This is one of the things that really makes him work as a director as a whole. Like, the editing in this movie in particular is really well done. There's a lot of scenes where there's like rapid cuts, there's like time lapses that they do here. I mean, these are really, really great scenes that they have in this movie, and it just shows what kind of an ambitious filmmaker that this guy can really be. Yeah, it has a lot of things about it that are really hard to stomach. And I would honestly say it's pretty close to being one of those movies where you say it's great, but then you really don't ever want to watch it again, kind of like a Schindler's List or 12 Years a Slave. Great movies in general, but the subject matter is too much. But I think what does carry it through and makes it something more watchable every time is that you do get invested in the performances, you do get invested in the acting that they do here and the situations that they put themselves in, and it knows exactly what it needs to do to really get under your skin, quite literally. Like, it shows you the hard truths about drug addictions, and like, it's a really well done film on a number of different levels. This is probably one of Darren Aronofsky's classic films, like the ones that definitely come up as one of his best films in general. And really, there's not much more to say about this one. It's a really good, well-made film. I really love this one, and yeah, it's hard to watch at times, but in the end, it becomes worth it when it's all said and done. I think it's a well-made film. Definitely one of the best Aronofsky films by a large margin. So with that said, on to our last movie, and that is Joel Schumacher's Tigerland. So this is a war film that takes place during the Vietnam War in 1971. Tigerland was the name of the U.S. Army training camp during the mid-1960s and early 70s. And as often the last stop for new infantrymen on the way to Vietnam, Tigerland was established in a humid and muggy Fort Polk, in order to closely mimic the environmental conditions of South Vietnam. And for Joel Schumacher, this was another one of those movies where he was trying to come back, still trying to come back after what happened with Batman and Robin. And he had 8mm, which was not that great of a film, nor was Flawless with De Niro and Philip Seymour Hoffman. But this, I think, was the closest. It was the first real film that really showed that he was making his way back, because this is a really good, well-made film that does not get the proper respect it deserves. It shows Colin Farrell's potential as an actor, and he's really great in the film. You also have Matthew Davis, Clifton Collins, Shea Wingham, Cole Hauser, and it's a really good, well-made film. It has a lot of gritty aspects to it, and like, it's a very good film. It's a really solid movie, that war film that does not get the proper attention that it deserves, because it really is one of those great little underrated gems. Like, it did not do well at the box office when it came out. It didn't make much of an impact, and for some people, it was considered another big bomb for Schumacher. But it was a film that was well made. It was a movie that did take chances and did have more to it than some of his other works he had done before then. It was definitely a nice return to form for him. But it's unfortunate that this film did not get the proper audience that it deserves, because it definitely is warranted as something that you have to see if you want to see the best of Schumacher. I would say that, the more I think about it, this probably is one of his top 5 best movies in general. And the more I think about it, because I'm trying to look at the list here, what would I put there? Probably his best film overall, Falling Down. I really love that movie. Flatliners is another good one. Lost Boys, St. Elmo's Fire, The Clients. Maybe not top 5, but definitely top 10 easily. I mean, it's a good film. I highly recommend checking it out. It's definitely worth a watch. Definitely check it out, Tigerland. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next week, we'll take a look at Friday the 13th of October. We have 5 movies to look at, including Winona Ryder in Lost Souls, Tim Meadow as the Ladies' Man. We have The Contender. We also have Richard Gere and Dr. T and the Women, and also Billy Elliot. 5 films to look at next time, so we'll definitely delve into those on the next episode. But until then, Thank you very much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.